Welcome to Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I am Terry Ikumi. Now, we have just a little over a month before the 2019 election, starting with the presidential election. And for the first time in our political history, it seems like we will have more women running for the office of the President of Nigeria. That's when INEC releases the final list of candidates. Now, these women are determined to take the country's top job. And their determination is very evident, as up till now, they have refused to step down for any man. But then some political experts have questioned their chances, saying as their political parties are not so popular. But others have dismissed the submission, saying that the situation in the country has gone beyond popularity, pushing the rhetoric that most Nigerians are tired of the two parties that have ruled the country in the past 20 years, the PDP and the APC. But beyond party popularity, will gender play any role in the outcome of the elections? Now, let's give you a quick history. In 1999, when Nigeria returned to democratic rule, there was no female presidential candidate. In 2003, of the 20 presidential candidates, just 2 were women, and they together pooled over 161,000 votes. From 2007 till 2015, each of the presidential elections saw only 1 female candidate. Now, the official list of the candidates that will take part in the 2019 presidential election is yet to be released by INEC, but we are quite aware that currently there are about 5 female presidential candidates for the 2019 presidential elections. So, quick question, what are their chances? Tonight, my guest will be speaking on her chances and those of the other females as female presidential candidates in a country that hasn't really favored women politically. She is the presidential candidate of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, Mrs. Obiageli Ezekwesili. You're welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you, Terry.
Now, I'd like to start with a very obvious question. There have been women before you, and they didn't do well. And they were quite in scanty numbers, 1, 2, and you would expect that women would rally around them to give them the support. Now we have more women in 2019. What do you think are the chances of women, considering that there's quite a number now compared to before?
I think that the chances of women would be vastly improved. One thing that I know is that we must not dismiss the women that came ahead. They definitely are the ones that broke the ground for people like myself. I want to pay very strong tribute to people like Sarah Jubril and Remi Shonaya. Professor Remi Shonaya, the fact that they dared to confront the system and to say, we stand ready to be elected into office was a very good signal. Today, with the 2019 elections in view and about 6 females who are vying to become president of our country, it is very clear that we have crossed the Rubicon in the sense that women are somehow afraid to take that quantum leap into seeking election or being elected into the presidency. The chances are to the extent of the quality of the candidacy of the women, as well as this coming of age of the Nigerian electorate, where more and more people are interested in leadership that solves the problems of the society. So people are beginning to be more discerning about the issue of leadership. They are recognizing that leadership is gender neutral and that you women with the right capacity, with the right character and the competencies can actually take the problems of a country and solve better than any other person, be they other women or men.
But the female presidential candidates before you definitely faced certain challenges. One of them is campaign funding. Are you going through a similar thing?
Oh, certainly. That's an obstacle that in our society, because we haven't quite figured out how to deal with election finance. Any candidate who is not part of the entrenched political class will go through it. Some of the young men and women who have entered into the political race at different levels and who have not been people who had access to lots of money are going through the same thing. But it's particularly so for the women who vie for office, because they are usually not networked into this vast network that men naturally have, especially in our society where almost politics has been an investment. So what do you do when you don't have that kind of resources available to you? What you do is to not miss it, but to innovate and figure a way to run a low-cost budget, a low-budget campaign, and then to replace with finance a lot of goodwill, where people are volunteering on your campaign. In the other campaigns, people are paid. In my campaign, we hardly have any paid staff. Nigerians who have signed on to volunteer their ideas. Now imagine a situation where many more Nigerians understood that we must elect people into office, not on the basis of their stock of wealth that they have accumulated either in a healthy way, through hard work and effort, or through a lot of pillaging that goes on in our society, regardless of where the sources of wealth may be from.
I think we also have a challenge with that, considering the fact that to push that rhetoric, you also need money.
Pardon?
I think we also have a challenge with that, because to push that rhetoric, just as you've mentioned, that people need to be made aware. You need to be able to reach out to people in the suburbs, people in the rural areas, and you need money to get to those areas. That's
the point I was making, that part of it becomes your capacity to have the soundness of vision that then attracts people to saying, some of the things that you would have needed money to do, we can do for you. So, for example, we have instances where people across the country simply go and order for the T-shirt for a campaign. That saves you a lot of, costs, and that means that you don't need to start raising money for that. But there are certain fundamental costs that you must carry. And for those fundamental costs that you must carry, you must be able to find people within the electorate who so believe in the vision, and then they support. That's a big problem, especially for women. Therefore, I believe that a conversation around the funding of our elections would have to take place, because that's the way you can remove that barrier for a lot of very credible women and young people who would like to vie for office.